Hello students, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to discuss the second part of the lesson, the last lesson. In the first part, we have discussed that there was a war between France and Prussia in which France was defeated. And the two parts of France were into the part of Prussia, that is Alsace and Lorraine. So without knowing this, the narrator had gone to his school. There he had seen his teacher with the fancy dress, and he had seen his old people there at the back benches. And he was shocked to see all those situations. However, the teacher had revealed him that he was going to deliver his last French lesson, and then he was shocked to listen those words. And then he realized why the old people gathered here, why the school was so serious, and why the teacher wore the new dress or the fancy dress. And however, he was thinking about all these things. While he was thinking all about this, suddenly his name was called by his teacher, M. Hamel, and asked him to recite the rules for participles. But here he could not give any answer, and he was very silent because he was feeling shy and shameful because he did not learn the rules for participles. And then again he heard the same gentle tone. Hamel said to him that, I won't scold you, little Franz. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, Bah, I have plenty of time. I will learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out. Ah, that's the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off means postpone. Puts off learning till tomorrow. See here, the teacher was trying to say that every time when we have time, we have postponed our things. But see, the things have gone wrong and things have become worst. See, I'm not going to scold you, my dear little friends. And it is the fault of all the people of Alsace who had postponed the things. And one more, the worst thing is that the fellows out there, they are ready to mock at you. Being the French people, you don't know how to write your own language. That is what the worst thing that we have to face. And the writer was then the teacher was trying to say that we have to criticize ourselves for our behavior. That's what he is telling. And first, he criticized his parents. His parents are not interested to send their children to go to school and okay, learn something, but instead they had sent their children to work somewhere in the farms and get money. And later he himself blamed for sending the children for watering the flowers. And not only that, whenever he wanted to go for a fishing, he had given a holiday. So these were the two reasons that he had blamed himself. One reason is he had sent the children to water his flowers, and the other thing is whenever he wanted to go for a fishing, he had announced a holiday, and thus he had criticized himself and parents for their behavior. And finally, he was talking about the language, he was talking about French language. So here he is very interested in his mother tongue. This is called linguistic chauvinism, extreme love towards one's language. That is what French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world and the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among ourselves and never forget it. The teacher was trying to say that we have to protect our uh, mother tongue and we should never forget it, and we instead we have to protect it, we have to guard it, because he says that mother tongue is the key to prison, as if it is, as if it had the key to their prison. If you have your mother tongue, definitely you will have the key to your prison. That means whenever you are enslaved, you can communicate easily with your people in our own mother tongue. The emotions are conveyed so easily, and then the communication is easy, and then you can come out of that prison easily. That is why the writer is trying to say that mother tongue is very important. It is the key to the prison of the people. Then he opened a grammar and read some lessons, and people here, they could understand very easily, especially the narrator was able to understand so easy. So easy because they were trying to listen to the lessons very carefully. At the same time, the teacher was trying to explain it, okay, very patiently, with so much patience here. That is why they could understand so easy that grammar lesson. After that, they had a lesson in writing. So that the teacher had brought the copies with his own handwriting, and he had given those copies to the students, and the students were about to write. And while writing, there was no other sound except the sound of pen and pencil sound. Nobody was talking. Everything seemed so silent, and there was only one sound: France Alsace, France Alsace. So that is what they could hear everywhere. It was like flags floating everywhere in the school room from the top of the desks. And you might have seen it is very serious. And everybody was working so seriously. And once some beetles flew in, even though people did not care for those beetles, that means they were writing so seriously, and they were so serious in learning their mother tongue. This time there was no postponement. That's what the seriousness, because they were going to face their last lesson. And while doing like that, on the top of the school building, the pigeon cooed. Okay, the pigeon cooed. And when the pigeon cooed, immediately he thought, who? The narrator. What was his thought? That's what. On the roof of the pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? Will they make them? Here, will they means the Prussians make them sing in German? Generally, there is no language for pigeons, but here the narrator is trying to say that I think the Prussian people might ask even the pigeons to sing in German. That is what these words came out of the frustration. Yes, when the people are oblivious of their surroundings, what happens? The conquerors try to do many things. That is what the situation here. Out of frustration, he had used this line. Actually, they can't make the pigeons to sing in German because pigeons have only one language, right? And whenever he was looking at M. Hamel was trying to look at all the sitting motionless, and he was trying to gather everything. That means he was trying to fix everything into his mind. He was looking at the floor of the building, he was looking at the windows, he was looking at the walls, and he was looking at the fans and all everything. He was fancy for 40 years he worked there, and next day he must leave. That's really a heartbreaking situation for him, and that was the most terrific thing for him. And what happened? Whatever the trees he had planted, all the trees had grown taller, and the walnut tree, right? The walnut trees in the garden were taller, and everything, the hop vine that he had planted himself, twined about the windows to the roof, and everything had grown up. And he himself had planted all the trees. He himself had constructed the school and taught for 40 years. And really, he must leave the tomorrow. How it must have broken his heart. You see this line, to leave at all. That's what his heart must have broken while leaving that particular place. And that's really, he was a poor man. Here, poor man in the sense, the poor man who is leaving his school after 40 years. And then he could hear his sister packing the things above the school building, and that packing the things in the trunks, for they must leave the country next day. And but he had the courage, even though he could listen to the sounds of the package and all, but he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. Here to the very last lesson means to explain to the very last. He was trying to explain everything whatever he had. After the writing, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba, be, bi, bo, boo, down. So these were actually okay, said by the children. So be a ba, something like fa fa, okay, be bay, something like that. the children were also saying, and they are trying to learn their French language. At the same time, old Hauser was also trying to say with them, and it was really funny, and he was about to cry even. Okay, spectacles and holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with them. With them means here with the children, and you could see that he too was crying. I told you already. His voice trembled with emotion. His voice trembled with emotion. He was completely possessed with emotion. And that was everyone in that particular room, the old people, those people were completely over, that means possessed with emotion. And it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry. Ah, how well I understood. I remember it, that last lesson. That was his last lesson. How well he understood and how well he remembered that. And all at once, the church clock struck 12. So only afternoon, only up to afternoon session, the church clock struck 12. Then the Angelus. Angelus is nothing but a verse from the Bible or a song from the Bible. So whenever there was a clock from the church, for example, if it strikes 1, 2, immediately followed by that sound of the bell, there will be a verse, VRSE. Okay, a verse will be read by the voice from the Bible. That is what Angelus. And at the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from drill. So they were also coming back, sounded under our windows. M. Hamel stood up. Then, until then, he was sitting in his chair, and M. Hamel stood up, very pale, very pale. That means he was very emotional in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. I never saw him look so tall means I never saw him look so dull. Dull or very sad here, emotional. My friends, he stood up and he was trying to say something. My friends, said he, I, I, but something choked him. He could not go on. That means he could not speak because he was completely emotional. And he wanted to say something, but something choked him. Choked means here, stopped him. And something like that he said. Then he turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with all his might, he wrote as large as he could, Vive la France. Vive la France means long live France. On the board he had written, Vive la France loudly. Okay, very big he had written. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word, he made a gesture to the students with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go. School is dismissed. You may go. With a gesture, not even, he did not speak over there. Thus, he had left that school. That was the last French lesson. There ends the chapter. My dear students, the part 2 is finished.